Hello everyone, welcome back to another video from Jared from TechWorks, and today we're going to talk about why I am getting rid of the iPhone 10. So a lot of people probably right now is like, oh my god, you're getting rid of the iPhone 10, why would you do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's also a lot of good reasons that why I would keep it, and a lot of reasons why people would never consider getting rid of it. But I'm going to tell you why I'm getting rid of it. So I've had the phone since November 3rd, which was launch day. I waited, not in line, but I did have a reservation. I ordered them October 27th at 3 a.m. with my friend because I was excited for it. I was excited that Apple did something different and took a risk, which they've been kind of tried and true with their iPhone 7 Plus, 8 Plus, 6 Plus, and so on. So this was different, and I was really looking forward to it. And after a month, why I'm getting rid of it comes down to a few things. The biggest being price. So this phone alone was $1,150. Then if you add Apple Care, which I did, that's another $200. So if you buy any cases or screen protectors or anything like that, you're looking at an investment of around $1,500. You could literally go on a trip there and back for this money. And that's amazing to me that you're going to spend that much money on this device. But I did it, and as a lot of other people did, they did the same thing. A lot of people did carrier plans or whatever, and even a friend of mine, when I asked him about how much he was paying per month, it's around $50 a month. That's a lot. You can do a lot of stuff with $50 a month. You can, have a better car for your car payment. The list goes on and on. The biggest reason I'm getting rid of it is because of that. Mainly because new phones like the Pixel 2, so this one being the Pixel 2 XL, does come in at a cheaper price than the OnePlus 10. The iPhone 10, the OnePlus 5T that was just launched came in at a whole $500 and some change. So you could almost buy 3 OnePlus 5Ts for the price of this phone. And something that I've taken to heart and considering is this phone then 3 times or 2 times better than the OnePlus 5T? Is it a time and a half better than the Pixel or any other phone on the market? Is it even a time and a quarter better than the other iPhones that were released this year, being the 8 Plus and the 8? When it comes down to it, is the iPhone 10 twice as good as the OnePlus 5T? Definitely not. I mean, there's definitely things that are better about the iPhone 10. Obviously, it's super premium. It's made by Apple. It's invested into the Apple ecosystem, iMessage, FaceTime, all that stuff. But core functionality, what are you actually benefiting your day-to-day life with the iPhone 10 or the OnePlus 5T? And it comes down to not a lot. The OnePlus 5T has Face Unlock, which actually works real fast in comparison, and I'm sure the biggest scrutiny is going to be, well, how safe is it? Can it be fooled? All this sort of thing. But the big difference there is there's also a choice. You have a fingerprint sensor on the back, similar to the Pixel 2 XL, right underneath the camera, that if you don't want Face Unlock, you don't care about Face Unlock, you just use your fingerprint, bam, you're in. And I would say I'm surprised truly that Apple didn't make like the power button a fingerprint sensor or add it to the back. I know it was an aesthetic thing, they want to get rid of it for the way of the future, but Face ID has been cumbersome at times. Like right now I'm staring at this phone and it finally just unlocked. It took 15-20 seconds. Over here with the Pixel 2, maybe 3 seconds, not even. A lot faster. I can find this phone in my pocket, have my finger on the sensor as I take it out, phone's unlocked when I get it in my hand. You're almost conforming to how to use this phone. You take it out of your pocket, you gotta look at it, maybe adjust your face a little bit, and then it unlocks and works. So that's kind of been somewhat of, not a hassle, but a big learning curve, especially coming from many, many, many years of iPhones with fingerprint readers, as well as Android phones with fingerprint readers. And I don't want this to be a bash on the iPhone 10 because this is a fantastic phone. It does a lot of things very well. I'm amazed at some of the photos I took with this phone over my vacation because they truly looked professional. Like I had my DSLR camera with me setting it on a tripod and making my own HDR shots. I mean, they were fantastic. But is that alone worth the price and money? No, because this phone right here is cheaper, several $100s cheaper, and it takes just as amazing shots, sometimes better, sometimes worse, just like these are sometimes better, sometimes worse than the Pixel. Again, I wouldn't say that justifies the difference in price. When it comes down to it, does that $500 to $1,000 difference make my life better in any way? No. I mean, I almost felt like I was forced into buying AppleCare because everyone was saying this was the most fragile iPhone, and having to pay over $500 to replace the back alone was scary enough to say, okay, yeah, AppleCare. And most of the people may not use it. You put a case on it, you're probably not going to use it. And then I started thinking about it, that $530 or $40 that you're paying to replace this back panel, you could just buy another OnePlus device. You could have a lot of other stuff, you know, and it's crazy to think that just to repair the glass piece of this phone, you could buy another phone, brand new, never used. That's amazing to me. Now, and I'm not saying that the OnePlus 5T is wholeheartedly better than this phone, but in today's day and age where everything is getting more and more expensive, it's good to have options. Options are the biggest reason to drive down price, to make that $1,000 phone less attractive. And when there is so many good phones out there with, you know, a lower price tag that do almost as good or as much or better things than this phone, I mean, it's hard to pass up. So that's truly the biggest reason. Another reason I'd say that the whole Android ecosystem has gotten better. You know, Android phones can truly compete toe-to-toe with Apple's phones, which back when iPhone 4 and 5 were out, Androids were way behind. The technology, their processors were way behind Apple's. And I mean, when I was first getting a smartphone, the only reason I wanted it was because it was the best. It was almost the only choice, unless you were really, like, I don't want to say going budget, but going for a phone that, you know, you'd get free with a carrier plan. You know, I had the iPhone 4. That was my first iPhone, and it was great. And at the time, that was almost the only option in a premium flagship device. You know, Samsung started with their Galaxies, and they were fine. They were good, but they didn't hold a candle to Apple's devices. But now, every manufacturer, Samsung, Google, OnePlus, Huawei, you know, the list goes on, especially some manufacturers in China and the Western world are making some really great stuff, cheaper, and I would say almost better in many ways than Apple's. And again, it's not saying that Apple's are bad. They're great. I love them. They're premium. But when you're shelling out $1,000 to $1,500 to carry this in your pocket, you know, that really is a driving factor. So truly, that's why I'm putting my SIM card from the iPhone 10 into the Google Pixel XL 2 or the OnePlus 5T. This definitely will take better pictures than the OnePlus 5T. It comes down to a cost thing. Now, Google is definitely everywhere. I have a Google Home speaker. I use Gmail all the time. Both my work and personal is Gmail. And again, not that Apple's email system is bad, but I always download a third-party app because it stinks with Gmail, with Google Drive, with a whole lot of other stuff. I have Nest products in throughout my house. Nest is a product of Google. It works a lot better with Google than it does with Apple. The app is better. I can tell my Google Assistant to turn up or turn down the temperature. iPhone, I can't. That might be more of a personal thing because I am more invested in Google, but my point being is that gone are the days where the only ecosystem around is Apple's with your MacBook, iPad, Apple Watch, you know, whatever else you got. And now there is almost an Android ecosystem. Google now is creating an inclusive environment. And in the last video, I did mention how I think Google is getting more closed on their system, on Android, and kind of setting a precedent. And I'm not taking that remark back because I still think that's happening with Project Treble and how OEMs are going to update and how Google's going to push through updates for a clean stock build of Android. They're definitely going that way, And I don't agree with that because Android always been open and community sourced and free to customize. But I think it's going that way. I don't think it's necessarily good. I don't think it's necessarily bad. It just kind of is what's happening. You know, Android is Google's, and as much as they have had it open source for many, many years, I think setting a precedent would be definitely beneficial, because then you can get consistent updates without having to have the Google phone or the Nexus phone in years past. You might be able to have a Huawei or a Samsung phone and get at least somewhat current updates, and that'd be great, because one of the main reasons that I go back to Apple is that I hate having a phone that is brand new, that did cost a lot of money, and have it be 6 months, a quarter behind in updates, or waiting for, like with a Samsung device, when Android Oreo came out this summer, the Note, which was released right around the same time, probably won't get that until this coming spring, this coming summer, which may be almost a full year behind the Pixels. Even last year's Pixel got Android Oreo before the brand new Note. You can get it in a beta with all this stuff, but still, it's not final. A normal consumer's not gonna get it. So again, another reason why I'm not gonna have my SIM in this, it's just overall ease of use. I had to learn to use my phone differently with gestures and things like that that are just different. And again, not that different is bad, it's just different. And again, I come back to the freedom of choice sort of thing. I wanna be able to use my phone the way I wanna choose to use it, and not be shoehorned into having to use it in a specific way. If I wanna use my fingerprint, I wanna use it. If I just want a PIN code, I wanna use it. If I want nothing, I wanna be able to use it. But with services like Apple Pay, Android Pay, that obviously limits it. There is more still options to unlock your device, to use your device with this phone. If I wanna use Google's Messages app for my text messaging, I can. If I wanna use a third party, I can. I can't here. I wanna use my camera or a different app, if I wanna use Google Maps or Waze, it's easier to do so here than here. Not that Apple Maps is bad or the apps, third parties are bad here, but it's less integrated, it's less nice. They push you towards using their services for a specific reason because it's part of their ecosystem. You know, when I plug this phone into my new truck that has Apple CarPlay, I get a few options. When I plug this phone into my truck, which also has Android Audio, I get more options. It really does come down to price for me. And the reason I say it as a spec of the phone, as other people do, is that it's a lot of money. Most people don't change phones every 6 months, every year, or even more than that. You know, I know my parents included may change a phone every 2 years, 3 years. You're gonna have this for a very long time, most of the time. Friends of mine may change it in a year and a half. People who are on iPhone every year plan will obviously change it every year. The bottom line is you're gonna have it for a very long time, and if this phone isn't benefiting you for that price, it's not worth it. There is a lot of other stuff you can do. You could buy a different device and take a trip. You could buy 2 devices and give one away. You could buy a device and give it to your significant other or spouse. You could just buy one and save the money and put it in your savings account or invest it and maybe make money. You know, that's what it comes down to. And if you're buying it on a carrier plan, not only are you locked into this price, you're locked into paying interest, and you're also locked into a carrier which has its own problems in and of itself. So this was a rather long video of almost why not to buy an iPhone 10. It's the first of its kind. It can only get better from here. A lot of apps aren't optimized. Granted, it's been not even a full month, but developers have known about it for a longer amount of time. Apps that people use a lot aren't optimized yet. Example, YouTube Creator, which almost every YouTube person uses to monitor uploads, watch time, things like that, isn't updated. I don't know if that's Google's fault or if that's Apple's fault for being slow releasing what the specs needed to be for the iPhone 10. But my point being is that creates a hindrance. You have a gorgeous display that then doesn't get used. I'd say Face ID is good, but it needs work. I would say that the whole phone with gesture support is fine, but it can be cumbersome for newcomers or people who maybe aren't as technologically savvy as others to navigate. I'd say that $1,000 or more is hard to swallow when there's many other options. You can buy a full computer for $1,000. Black Friday was the other day, and you could buy a laptop for $200. You could have 5 of them for one phone. So that's gonna be my quick little rant as to why this maybe isn't the best value. I'm not saying not to buy it, but I'm saying to think about it. It's a lot of money. It's definitely a good device. I think next year's will obviously be better. But could I honestly recommend this over this just because this is an Apple product over anything else? No, unless you're so heavily involved in Apple's ecosystem that you have to have an iPhone for certain specific reasons, I'd say seriously consider other options for the fact of repairability, for the fact of price, for the fact of features. There's just a lot out there that can do a lot more for a lot less, if not equal to the price. You know, the Note 8 is out there that does a whole heck of a lot of stuff. It has iris scanning, similar to Face ID. Again, there's just a lot of choices, and you shouldn't feel the need to just jump on the bandwagon as quickly as some people did, including myself, thinking that Apple's first iteration of this new design is going to be the end-all be-all of devices, because it is not without flaws. It will not be without issue until the next couple of years, maybe the 3rd year of this design, after they switch over all the iPads and Macs and everything else to use Face ID, will you be able to whip it out, look at it quick, and within a second unlock your phone. Sometimes it works, it just did, but earlier it didn't. At night it doesn't. And I'd much rather, instead of fumbling, making sure my hair is out of my face, making sure the position of the camera's right, unlock it in a second with whatever way that may be, whether it's better Face ID, fingerprint, PIN. I don't really care. It's just better. It's just easier. It's just more convenient for a number of people. So there it is. I am getting rid of the iPhone 10. I'm going back to Android for the foreseeable future just because I don't see the value right now for this phone. So, this was Jared from TechWorks. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Ta-da!